Okay, hi, just a quick video about our garden. It's the 27th of July 2022 and I've got a bit of time, so I'll just do a quick tour if that's okay, just to show you what is going on here, because it's looking quite nice at the moment. I'll start with the 5 fir trees which I planted when they were tiny a few years ago. They're doing pretty well. I'll start trimming them at the top there. Hopefully they'll bush out a bit and fill in the gaps. This here is it's actually a plum tree right in the centre, or what was right in the centre of the garden, which has been the bane of my wife's life since it's been there. We have never got any plums from it, unfortunately. A bit of DIY reparations here didn't really work. I'll take that off. I'm not sure why. Maybe it needs another different gender plum tree for it to kick in. There's a little butterfly on the cauliflower. Okay, so it's a plum tree. Over here we have the pear tree, which hasn't really borne much fruit either recently, but maybe one day. It always gets these nice new bits of leaf at the end of the branches, so certainly growing. This is a beehive that I used to keep a battery in for a while. So now we have all 3 plots in the garden, which I'm very pleased about. This one here, with all the plants in it, is root vegetables. These are all potato plants, so I'm very pleased with. Potatoes need very little support or care. They grow really well in Scotland, and the slugs don't eat them very much either, so it's all good. They also proliferate. It's actually quite difficult to stop them growing once they've started. But yeah, this is about, let's see, I'm doing yards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 5 yards, so it's 15 feet. So I've dug these ones up already, got a nice crop so far. This plot is legumes, as you can see by my little marker up at the end there. So 3 crops, 3 plots for crop rotation. On the left we've got brassicas, and then on this side legumes, which is your peas and beans, and then root vegetables here. And then next year I'll move each of these to the right. So next year legumes will be here, brassicas here, root vegetables over there. So what we've got in here, we've got a couple of broad beans which are growing. Hopefully we'll get some of them, I don't know when, in a couple of weeks maybe. I'll get some peas down here which struggled a bit because of slugs, but they're getting there. And for a long time this land was left unused, so I thought, well, I can't really have that because it'll mess up the whole crop rotation thing. So I went a bit nuts and planted a bunch of seeds which are now finally popping out. You can see them there. So hopefully this will be lots of beans all the way along here, and peas on this side. You can just see them popping up through the soil. And this will at least prepare the soil for next year. Here we've got, I think this is cauliflower, but it's never really cauliflowered for some reason. It's got these big green leafy plants, which the caterpillars are enjoying. But I find that planting them in the centre of the plots like this, and just watering the plants themselves and not the whole soil, stops slugs from getting there. Because I presume the slugs don't like crossing the desert of the dry soil, do they? That is some broccoli. Just the butterfly has it lighted on. It's probably laying eggs or something, I don't know. Well, a lot of action taking place here today. Alright. So this is some more cauliflower that I planted originally in the greenhouse. And I moved it outside, but it's not really, these plants were late to come outside, so maybe they've gone past their stage of settling in. Here we have a remnant of potatoes from previous years. In previous years I've left the potatoes to grow where they wanted. I've since read that you should never let them grow in the same place twice. So now, sad to say, even when the potato looks quite healthy, I did take them out and plant them in this area. But now this place is full, so I just put them in the compost because we're just going to mess up the crop rotation. So that's my 3 plots. Here we have some ailing rhubarb. Sadly, the rhubarb it's not doing too well, probably because of I've not really been looking after it very much, and the slugs and snails love it. It's not very appetizing to think that a slug has climbed up the rhubarb before eating it. We have the apple tree, which we inherited with the house. We never used to eat the apples because we thought they're crab apples, they're not for eating, they're for cooking. So I never really looked after the soil. But since my sister's fiance came over and just tried some, he said, oh, they're quite nice. We started looking after the tree a bit better, watering the soil, pruning the branches occasionally, and it's been doing much better. I've actually tried to make cider a few times, which has been really nice, but I kind of think I've been poisoning myself with it because it's not been cidering. It's just not been cidering. Here we have a tree or bush of some description, which I've planted at some point and it's going quite well. So I'm just letting it do its thing in that pot there. These were radishes, which have run amok and turned into radish monsters. Didn't really look after them, so that's the price you pay. There's a bird bath, which I saw some birds in earlier today, so it seems to be working. This is a tree I rescued from my mother's house, which I don't know how it's going to do in there, but I may have to give it some water. This is a cherry tree which we planted at the same time of all the other trees, and it's doing really well here. And for a long time I thought, it's not producing any cherries. But as the years go by, we found that if you look carefully, let's see if we can find some. Oh, no. Where are they? Yeah, I think we have had a couple on here, but what I think's been happening now, as the tree has been growing and the cherries have been coming out, the birds, which I've been encouraging with the bird feed to get rid of the slugs, the birds have been eating the cherries. So it's tricky. Does that mean I have to put netting over the cherry bush to protect the cherries from the birds? Probably. And that I've gone. I've got strawberries, which I've also neglected but still continue to bear fruit, and I should really be picking these. See that? They seem to be like wild strawberries now, but any kind of fruit I'm able to get from the garden is actually really nice. There's a good one. You just have to be careful that you're not putting a spider in your mouth at the same time. blink, can you? Can't stop eating them now. So, what happened was, when I planted this plum tree, it was in the middle of the lawn, but I knew that I was going to plant these 3 vegetable plots. Now it is just a lawnmower's width. These are all a lawnmower's width apart. The reason for that is that you need to walk in between them to dig the stuff up to you. So, this is a chestnut tree which my son and I planted from a conker a few years ago now. Looking pretty good. And it's probably going to be too big for this pot. I don't know. I'm going to have to plant it out somewhere. But I'm not sure where because I don't know how long it will last. If it's out in the wild. There's potatoes again. Potatoes have even gone to there somehow. Got tomato plants in here. 2 plants growing out of that grow bag. And I'm not sure what's happening. I've got a couple of tomatoes here. Hopefully they will get enough sunlight to ripen. Another DIY figs here. Not very good with fixing plants, but this one seems to have survived the fall. And you make some nettles fertilizer for these. Apparently that's supposed to be quite good. So with all these things growing, we need a lot of water. So I've added a lot of water butts around the house and garden. These are 100 litres. They water in off the gutters I added to the shed a few years ago. I can't believe I did that. That collects rainwater. Fills up the water butt, and the excess just comes out the bottom of the downpipe. So that's 100. That's 100. That's 100 in the greenhouse, and there's another 100 over there. That's 400 off the greenhouse, and this one's off the main house gutter system. This is 200. And this one hasn't really been working very well recently. I don't know if there's something wrong with the settings, but it's not been filling up as much as that one's. That one's been filling up the most, possibly because the wind usually comes from that direction, blows the rain onto that side of the shed, fills up quick. This looks like late arrival. It's right in the middle of the pot, which makes me think that it's come from one of the seeds that I planted. I think it might be an oak tree, but I'm not sure. I think I can see an oak pattern in the leaf there. So that's come from an acorn. So I need to keep an eye on that. I'm not sure what the best conditions are for it to grow, but drying out ate one of them. Here's the greenhouse. On the right we have 2 tomato plants growing out of pots. And these are yet to ripen, but there's definitely some action going on here. Potatoes growing in there. I've dug out the end already, but they're a bit spotty because they've been growing running amok in this greenhouse for years. I'm going to put an end to that. Grow something else in here next time. There's some wooden shelves that I built myself, which are still standing. And this little fish tank, which I took from outside a chip shop a few years ago, which I use to, once this water butt is full, I put that pipe into a little hole here, and it fills up the water tank over the winter months. I think that's everything in the back garden. Let's talk about the front garden. Okay. This hedge is, I planted this hedge a couple of years ago now. These, we call them bee tree. I don't know what kind of bush it is, technically, but because the bees love it, we call it a bee tree. And there was tons of bumblebees digging their proboscis into the flowers on this a couple of months ago. But these are all from seeds off the main bee tree near the door, so we didn't have to buy any of these. These are just grew from the berries, and you can see it's producing its own berries down here, its own little seedlings as well. So I had to dig up the lawn and add in the little wooden surrounds. So I'm quite pleased with that. Just to give it a bit of privacy, really, the front garden, because this is quite a nice area, a nice part of the garden this in summer, because the house protects it from the sun. So that's pretty much it. That's how the garden's looking at the moment. I'm quite pleased with it. I'd like to show it off sometimes. I think there's a few things that could be done to maximise. I've got compost bins. 2 compost bins here for food waste. One is more recent, and that's the older one there that's composting, but I could really do with the third one. Could go there maybe. These trees need to be watered. I could really add in another one there. And another one where the beehive is. I need to finish the wood surrounds. Again, the wooden surrounds is just from bits of old fence wood that we've got from neighbours. I mean, we paid money for the stakes. But we tried to recycle as much materials as we can. There is a Hedgehog House which I built a couple of years ago, but it has no guests so far. Yeah, just growing your own vegetables and fruit. I mean, I'm not really much of a gardener, but all you have to do is dig up the soil and put seeds in the ground and water it now and again, and I'll give it a go, and then everything else can be learned as you go, probably. It's nice to know that if the worst comes to the worst and there aren't any food on the shelves, we might be able to last a little bit. But I've no idea how to keep food to last through the winter, or grow enough to last through the winter. I don't know. Also, you have to plant little and often, not huge amounts all at once, otherwise you'll eat nothing but beans or rhubarb or beetroot for weeks and you'll get sick of it. That's one thing I'm not very good at. I'd like to plant more carrots. But carrots are harder to grow than potatoes. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you like this little tour of our garden and washing. And thanks for watching, and we might do another one of these next year. Thanks, bye.